Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 99 of the All in Football Fantasy Premier League show and podcast. I am your host, the self-proclaimed, very, very big stress on the words, self-proclaimed FPL guru, Alex Rex. And joining me today are my usual suspects of Barry, the differential, Stokes, and Scott, I don't know what the hell's going on, Williams, and also the birthday boy. Scott, happy birthday.
Thank you.
How are you feeling? You doing all right?
Feel old, mate.
I'm glad you missed out. I'm glad you missed out wiser.
Oh, yeah. Definitely not wiser, but it does bring me comfort that I am the youngest one here. So, yeah.
Just about. We are close. Barry, how are you?
Okay. Wild carded, so hopefully a change of fortune because I've had a stinker the last couple of weeks. So hopefully I can turn my fortune round and smell rosy again.
It's all right. We're going to touch on how bad you did in March in a minute. So what I'd like to do first is welcome everyone to the show. And thanks ever so much for everyone for joining us. Don't forget to like our video on YouTube and also subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to give us a 5-star review wherever you get your podcast from and click the little bell icon so you will get updates when they come through. Follow us on social media platforms, All in Football Pod, All in Football P on Twitter, Instagram, and on TikTok. And don't forget also to join the Fantasy Premier League group on Facebook that Barry is one of the admins for. There you are. Let's start off with Manager of the Week for Game Week 30. So I know we're in the middle of Game Week 31, but let's do Game Week 30 first of all. And we have got James Stevens. Well done, James. You got not 35 points, 74 points. You did take a -4 this week, but you got Dubravka, Bournemouth defender. Bournemouth defender. As if you're telling me how to pronounce someone's name, Baz, as well. Absolutely ridiculous. What a start to the podcast. Bradley, Dallo, Salah, Palmer, Gordon, Son, Captain, Foden, Tony, and Solanke. Big shout out as well, though, to our resident celebrity, Mr. Liam Ormsby. He did get 73 points without taking any hits. So I do have to give him a shout out for his team as well for that week. Let's do Manager of the Month.
I think I was close, wasn't I? Last week.
70. Did you get 72?
Yeah, I think if Saki came on for me, I'd have got Manager of the Week.
You did do all right.
Not
there it is. 20. One behind the resident celebrity Liam Ormsby. You got 69.
Yeah, but I think Saka first sub, was it? Or someone? Bowen, sorry, that was it, yeah.
Bowen first sub, yeah.
You haven't got Saka in your team.
Yeah, I know. And I had Simicast. I had some scoring players as well. Yay. It's all right.
Yeah.
It's all right. There's a few people at the moment who have had no playing goalkeeper, which you would have done this week. And Matt Turner played no minutes and got a yellow card on the bench. So he managed to get -1 without playing any minutes, which I absolutely love. Stuff like that always makes me laugh. Yes, and we need to touch on Manager of the Month for March, which is Mr. James Stevens. So congratulations, James. 254 points, 18 points clear of Dark Horse Manza Hassan Amtor, who's second, and Ali Farrell, who is top of the league, is was third. Gavin Webb, go give Gavin a shout out. We're not giving Gav a shout out for a while. He's had a really strong March in fourth, and then Ben Steers in fifth. If we scroll all the way down, lads, we will get to Scott at first, 25th out of 54. And then we go even further down. We can see the podcast team at 34th. I was 36th. And then just making page one, Barry in 48 out of the 54 managers. You got a whole 100 points less in 1 month than James Stevens.
It's bad, isn't it? Won league last year.
Cup the year before, league last year.
Going for a cup. I'm just going to rotate every year, I think.
Yeah, I like that. That's a good shout. Well, at least we're all still in the cup. Overall,
because it's not started.
That's what I'm taking. I'm clinging on to it. Ali Farrell's top of the league. He's got an 8-point lead over Marco. Richard Kirk 7 points further back, and then Callum Burnett with at 1,876 points. He's 29 points off the top. Callum, I am sorry. I'm going to have to point out that you benched Phil Foden as your second sub this week for a hat-trick and 3 bonus points. That's got to really hurt.
That's shocking. That's just a really, I'll be honest, I love you, Callum, but that's a really bad footballing decision.
I texted him last night. I'm still shocked. The fact that you've second subbed him behind Aït-Nouri, I know Aït-Nouri had a good fixture, and Aït-Nouri is definitely someone who should be on people's radars at the moment. But honestly, if Conor Bradley doesn't play tonight, if he has a dodgy kebab and doesn't feature, Aït-Nouri and Foden both come off Callum's bench. So Conor Bradley will not play tonight, and then it is Callum's year, surely at that point. So we're gonna cover pretty simple stuff this week, lads. Really, we're just gonna have a look at the fixtures for the next couple of weeks, and we're gonna have a look at which teams that we want to target over this next period of time, and it all depends on really if you're going to be bench boosting in 34, if you're going to be free hitting in 34, or doing nothing at all in 34, and that's kind of how these have been divided up in terms of teams that we're going to be covering. The other option, of course, would be to bench boost in 37 when the other fixtures are confirmed. I'm going to start off on a bit of a downer, lads. I don't really think it makes any difference when you use it. There's not really an obvious week which is going to make a huge difference. I've wildcarded this week to then look at my bench boost in 34. At the moment, I've got 2 double game week players on the bench and 2 single game week players, so it's going to be 6 fixtures that are good fixtures. But I think it's relatively easy to plan for any of these guys really. If you're 34 or 37, to get probably at least 6 games on your bench. And I also think that going all in on the bench boost this year, trying to get 4 players on your bench that play and having 15 doublers is probably just suboptimal for how it's going to affect your team. You're going to end up getting yourself really stuck with certain players that you really don't want, and doubling up on some horrible defences and this, that, and the other that you don't need to. I mean, I've got myself doubled up on Everton's defence at the moment. I mean, God knows how that ended up happening. To be fair, they have got the 4th best defence in the league, or 5th best defence in the league, so it's not actually that bad. But still, we all wildcarded this week, didn't we?
Yeah.
So I'll come to you first, Baz. I've said about how I wildcarded to get a certain amount of doublers in and have a strong 34. Is that your plan?
Yeah. So I'm planning to use my bench boost in 34, similar to obviously yourself, just because I think the fixtures look a bit better compared to the proposed ones in 37. And obviously the players that I brought in kind of match my thoughts on how well the games are going to go. And obviously I've kind of tried to cheat the system and go all cheap defenders. I think my most expensive is 4.3. And whoever gets that is unbelievable guess, because it's quite hard to guess.
I would never have guessed that man was your most expensive defender. I mean, to be fair, I would have guessed Gusto.
Yeah.
Because he's 4.3 now, but you bought him at 4.2, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would never have guessed the 4.3 that is your most expensive defender.
Yeah, and for everyone who was listening who's probably guessing, it's a Welshman, would you believe it? Nico Williams for Forest.
Yeah, did he at the bar of the week in the week as well?
So I thought get attacking returns. He scored for Wales midweek, but so that's what I'm looking at, and I've planned all the way through the season to the end of the season. Obviously, that's probably going to change with obviously price changes and injuries and things like that. But obviously, that is obviously my plan, and I'm looking at. I think I worked out I've got about 13 double game week players, and then some people with good fixtures. So hopefully that they're back and available, because obviously Richards is injured at the moment for Palace. So fingers crossed he is. So
Scott, do you have a plan for the bench boost with your wild card, or did you? Yeah, what's your plan?
Yeah, well, I was just looking. I just looked at targeting teams that had good fixtures in that double game week. Didn't think too much of it. Liverpool have got nice fixtures. I would top of the league, I'm going to bring 3 Liverpool players in. I don't think that's the most complicated thing in the world. I'd already mentioned previously Wolves. Thought let's go for a Wolves defender. Lost the flip. Went Semedo over Aït-Nouri just because he plays 90 minutes. Aït-Nouri does come off, sometimes doesn't start games, so didn't go well for me. But like I did mention, I would have benched him anyway, so I'd probably be more annoyed because I don't think he'd be coming on, even though he might actually, because loads of players didn't play actually. But yeah, just looking there to see which players. I've not previously had an Arsenal defender, and they were the one sort of team I wanted to probably bring in a defender in and spend a bit of money. I know we said previously not, but they've looked so solid. And like I brought Ben White in, and so unlucky not to get like attacking returns. Like he was playing like almost Cam in that game.
So it was all over him, wasn't he? I mean, he found himself in the box a couple of times. You're unlucky not to get an attacking return, really. And I think I'll be honest, I think you're even more unlucky, really, that someone like Zinchenko got 3 bonus points and he got none.
Yeah.
I mean, that felt weird. Anyway, but I didn't watch the full game, so maybe I'm wrong.
It could have been worse. I know they put Kivior in my team and he got rotated out then Zinchenko. So, but yeah, I just looked ahead to double game weeks and then I'll just do my usual sort of monitor week by week. But I agree with the sentiment there. You don't want to be sort of ripping your team. You don't want to be looking after game week 34, especially when you've got, when you've wildcarded already. You don't know, oh my God, I've got like 2 Everton. I've got like a Luton player on, for example. A player you don't want to get rid of because, injuries happen. And when your big players get injured, you want to be bringing them out straight away. You want to bring an 8 million midfielder out rather than a 4 million defender. So, that's all I did. Nothing too more than that.
I totally agree. I think the only thing I might have done differently in your wild card, which I think the only thing I did do differently, not might have done, I did do differently, was put another double game week goalkeeper in. So I had 2 double game week goalkeepers just because it's another fixture on a bench boost. And they rotated quite well. I actually kind of like Pickford's fixtures for the rest of the season. They've got Burnley at home, Forest at home, Brentford at home, Luton away, and Sheffield United at home. Like they've got a really good run in. The only 3 tough fixtures they've got are Chelsea away, but is that even a tough fixture? Because they're a bit of a joke team this year. Let's be honest. They have got Liverpool at home and Arsenal away, where they'll lose. So because those are the 2 teams that are good enough to break them down. Other than that, they've got really good fixtures. So I doubled up on mine with Branthwaite and Pickford. Cheap defender, and I think they just did well in for double game weeks. When we're looking at, we can look at teams now from that perspective. I think the clubs where we'll probably be looking to invest, I'd have thought, are Bournemouth, Liverpool, and Wolves for the next 3 game weeks, potentially an Everton as well as another club. I think outside of those guys, I've really struggled to recommend any attackers in Everton. I mean, I watched the second half of the Newcastle game, and if it wasn't for Paul Dummett deciding he just didn't like Ashley Young and throwing him to the ground miles off the ball like an absolute moron about 5 minutes after he came on the pitch, you could tell he'd not kicked a ball for a while. They panicked when a cross came in and he was jumping against Ashley Young. If it wasn't for that, and then even then Dubravka nearly saved Dominic Calvert-Lewin's penalty. It was only because it was powerful enough that it even went into. I just wouldn't recommend any of the attackers. So, defensively for them. Bournemouth, we'll start with them because they've got Luton away, Man United at home, so 2 pretty decent fixtures next. And then a double game week against Villa away, which is tough, and then Wolves away. Bournemouth. Adam Smith you've got at the moment, Scott, haven't you? What a phenomenal pick that was. I think it's one of the best shouts I've heard all season. And I say that because my wife picked him in my differential draft and he was my top scoring player and the reason I won this week. So, talk us through Bournemouth options, Scott. Who do you like?
Yeah, I like Adam Smith. I brought him in. So I already had him in pre wildcard. I brought him in for the double that they had.
28,
Yeah. And he's done well. He's done really well for me. I know you've been a fanboy of Adam Smith down the years, haven't you?
Yeah, I love him.
He's quite a solid asset. He's been getting some assists as well. So that's really, really good. Obviously, you want to have Solanke. He's still delivering. So he's one that you'll have in your team. I do like the defender that Baz can count. There we go. I know Baz mentioned him a few weeks ago. I think I brought him in draft or something. I don't know. But he looks really good in at 4.5, really decent option. I'd say on the eye test, Clivert looks good, but it's just such a rotation risk. He scored last night before, but came off the bench to do so. So he's not a guaranteed starter here. So he's one of those where if I pick him in differential draft, he'll do nothing, can probably play full 90, but if I don't, he'll come off the bench and score. So they would be sort of the players that caught my eye. But yeah, I'd be Smith, Solanke, and then I wouldn't want to double up on the defence. So I'd probably just be looking at those two, really, for me personally.
Yeah. Barry, your thoughts on Bournemouth?
Solanke for me, to be honest. If you're struggling for money and you need a cheap attacker, then probably Semenyo. But obviously he came off the bench anyway, so I was quite shocked at because he was playing quite well.
I think he had a knock. I think.
And Neto as a goalkeeper, 4.7 for a Bournemouth keeper. Is that too much? It's probably about the same as Pickford. Pickford's around about that figure.
Yeah,
but as you mentioned, Everton's got the fourth best defence, and I don't know what Bournemouth's is. I don't think it's obviously as good as that. So for me, I've just got Solanke, and I won't be looking at any other Bournemouth player unless they turn into like Foden or something like that and go like to flames. So
yeah, I think you're right. You know, Solanke, when you're talking about XGI, expected goal involvement, it's Solanke, Semenyo, and then Clivert in terms of the top three. In terms of actual goal involvement, Semenyo's been top. Then this NS now, I don't know, 3, Dango with 2. Like there's some names in there that aren't.
Yeah, Dango's been playing left back.
Yeah, that you're just not going to pick them. Like in terms of your fantasy team, there's a couple of players in there I wouldn't mind putting on in draft. Now, don't get me wrong. Like there's a couple in there you might bring in for a short period of time from a Bournemouth perspective. I think Clivert is a good sort of draft player, like Scott kind of mentioned. Then like someone that you could take a punt on for the next few weeks and you can rotate out easily. When you play an FPL, it's a lot more difficult because you've got a very finite number of transfers, one a week, and you don't want to start bringing someone in to take -4s to get them out later and this, that, and the other when the massive rotation risks. But I agree with that. Let's go Wolves. Let's do these guys. You mentioned going for Semedo over Aït-Nouri, and obviously that not working out too well for you, unfortunately, Scott. Aït-Nouri is top of the form for Wolves now, especially after he scored at the weekend. Seemed to be getting into random centre forward positions. Looking at his heat map, he was really, really advanced. Anyone else other than, Semedo's fourth on that list. He's not exactly a bad pick. But anyone else on that list that you think potentially could stand out? It seems like a lot of defenders and goalkeepers.
Yeah, a couple of reasons I went for Semedo as well, just really quickly. Another one, I figured a lot of people would go for Aït-Nouri, so I thought it was just one of those little gambles. And I was impressed. I can't remember what game I watched him recently, but Semedo impressed me. He was getting up a lot. So yeah, I did think he played really, really well. Anyone else? I brought Cunha in our differential draft. I'm so confident he'd start. He came on for about 10 seconds, didn't he?
Cunha's interesting because when you have a look at, I was trying to get this up on here as well for all you guys on Fantasy Football Hub and the Opta stats of that in terms of the points predictions for forwards. Cunha's second on the list for the next 3 game weeks. You know, if he starts with the fixtures that they've got, Opta predicts that he'll only just be about 3 points FPL points behind Haaland. So it's not a bad pick. He was on form before his injury. It's just a bit of a gamble. I mean, the pod team put him in for a reason in our wild card. Could work out. I can see the gamble. Sorry, Scott, I cut you off there, couldn't you?
No, that's right. But I'd say other than them, I'm not really getting blown away too much by sort of anyone in the world. So I think they're just ticking over. I don't think anyone's sort of standing out too much for me. You could bring Kinder Bueno in, or Kinder Bueno Light, or what, I don't know.
Played centre midfield, hasn't he?
Yeah.
But
But yeah, Totti's look good, but again, he's such a rotation risk himself.
Baz, what do you think of Sarabia? That's the only other player I can think of that might be a shout.
I do like him as a player. He's stood up and been proud of himself whilst Hwang and Neto has been injured. So yeah, he's been like the main creator and doing all the damage. But I'm waiting for Hwang to come back. Hopefully, Chan will be back for the double game week because I'm potentially looking at getting him in. But obviously he is estimated to come back the week after. So hopefully he has a speedy recovery and gets back sooner. It's a shame that Neto's out till I think it's May times.
Yeah,
He'd
it might be
have
the
been a
rest of the
lovely,
season.
yeah, it'd have been a lovely asset to have for the double game week. Or potentially
suppose-
even finish the season, depending on what fixtures they've got earned this season. Probably
suppose
not.
if you bring him
looking at
in,
that.
if you bring him in for that double game week, at least you've got the nicer fixture second. So there's he might come on for a few minutes of Arsenal, and he might do well and might start. Then you got Bournemouth and Luton. And that's two nice fixtures, isn't it? So I think it does make a bit of a difference the way that double game week is round.
Yeah, I agree with that in terms of your timing. An extra 4 days is important when it comes down to the recovery time. Yeah, I think Sarabia at 4.7 mil for a centre midfielder at 0.8 owned. I mean, like he's somebody you could take a shot on as a fifth midfielder.
Can I just say what made me laugh there? An image of Pablo Sarabia stood in front on the pitch, glancing to the sideline with all his teammates injured, and just stood there being really proud, like, you lot injured, and here I am.
I'm so proud of myself. Touching on Liverpool, because I've done the same as you, Scott, Kelleher, Salah, and Darwin. Same three players to go for. I didn't really see any other options. I don't want to double up on a defence. If I had done it, would have been someone like Bradley but the only person I'd be really want to double up with is Verge, and I don't want to spend that money. I'm not bothered in spending 6.6 million on a centre half for Liverpool. Yeah. And was there any other people that you considered when you were wildcarding?
Yes, originally I didn't. I doubled up on mid. I really wanted Diaz in. I really wanted to get Luis Diaz into my team.
That's interesting. Yeah. What made because for me he was never an option. Why'd you like Diaz?
He scored, didn't he? Was that before or after?
Are you being captain hindsight?
Am I being captain hindsight? Did he score after we wildcarded?
I can't remember. Did he score? He scored. I think was it the week before? No, he scored game week 30. Yeah, he scored game week 30. He's not played yet since the wildcard. Yes, we scored last week.
He scored on Sunday. He scored on Sunday.
Yeah.
So he was scoring, and with some of the injuries I've got, I just figured he'd play, and I knew he'd be someone a bit different. But I thought it was stupid not to go for Kelleher. That was just an error for me. If you don't go for him, there's such a cheap player. Salah's Salah. I was sat there thinking, is Salah even getting points? And then I looked, and he delivers points in like every game he's played, and I'm like,
he's insane. It's just he's such an asset. It's just stupid, isn't it?
Ridiculous, isn't it? Yeah. So I was like, right, well, I'm not doubling up on defense. I never want to do that now. So it was either Kelleher, Salah, and Darwin or Diaz. And I thought I'd just gamble a little bit. Didn't think many people would go for Darwin. And I do like watching him. He gets chances, doesn't he? And if he scores, he can deliver like two or three goals. So that was it for me. There was no one else that came into my mind.
It's interesting with Darwin because there are a few striking options, but when we talked about ceilings, he's got a couple of double-digit returns, 3 double-digit returns this season. That's what he's got. I kind of just fancied him over Diaz. But what I will say about Luis Diaz as well, and giving him and one of the other reasons why I didn't go for him was because I just felt there was a lot of midfielders I could put in as well. There was a lot of it was a real clamour for positions. But when you have a look at his returns, he returned in every single game either a goal or an assist from game week 22 to 25, and it was double game week in 25. Then he blanked against Forest and City, and then obviously he's returning against Brighton. So he has got 4 goals and 3 assists in like his last 6 appearances. So he is on fire, and it's just funny. I just never thought I'd have him. Just never bothered. Baz.
Liverpool. Yeah, he was on my list, but after obviously the Bowen the Bowen incident I had, I thought I'm keeping him. He's looking back to his himself. But obviously I've got the same 3 as you, Darwin, Gallagher, and Salah. But yeah, he was definitely on my radar. But I wanted to keep Bowen because Bowen has hit flames again. So
absolutely. Right, let's go to let's have a look at the teams now that we're going to look at who have if for example people are going to free hit. So those are the teams if people are looking at bench boosting. Let's have a look at the teams if people are looking at free hitting. So game week 34 sees Chelsea play Arsenal away, but other than obviously game week 35 where they have Villa away, they could double in 35 though. Chelsea will double in either 35 or 36 and in 37. And they've got good fixtures around it. So Chelsea, even though they're a joke team this season, are a good side to invest in. So let's not beat around the bush too much. Obviously, Palmer, 5.9 million midfielder. If you don't have him, what are you doing? So cheap and so good. For me, actually, weirdly, who is going to be bench boosting in 34, I'm probably selling him in 34, not having him for 35 for Villa away, getting him back in for 37, 38, and 39 for the 2 double 39, 37, 38, 36, 37 because of the doubles. 36, 37, 38. Sell him for 34, 35, have him 36, 37, 38 for the doubles. Scott, anybody else for Chelsea? Anybody else? Anybody at all?
It was just like some of the season, like 157 points, and then
it's crazy.
Just like I think is it Sterling next to 106?
I'll organise it by points. 106 for Sterling.
That's it. Next. So and he's probably played more minutes than Palmer.
Yeah, near enough.
That's ridiculous. Would I choose anyone else? I know Baz, you got Gusto. Are you looking at Gusto? The only one I'll keep half an eye on. It's not defensively because they're a shambles defensively. Won't be bringing any defensive players in to keep a clean sheet for Chelsea. But attacking wise, he's looked all right. Same as Ben Chilwell. But no, not really. Nicholas Jackson. Baz went for the gamble last week. My mum's gone for the gamble on a wild card and brought Jackson in over Haaland, I believe.
Oh, wow.
So she messaged me earlier. Sam Haaland didn't get any returns. Didn't play. He can't get any returns. Didn't get negative, though, did he? Didn't do Matt Turner.
I can't believe it still. So brilliant.
So she's rolled the dice, which I like. I like that. She's like, I've gone a bit different. Oh, big respect, but yeah, that would be good. Modric looks okay, but again, he's a bit of a rotation risk as well, so I wouldn't be going for him.
Shout out as well to your mum. She went for Luis Diaz. She doubled up in the midfield. She actually gone full out all attack Liverpool, which I like. Salah, Diaz, and Darwin. I'm almost more of a fan of that. Raya, she's got Flecken on the bench though, which is must hurt this week.
Got Foden though, so she didn't get rid of him like I did.
It's all right. Lewis Dunk's coming on for second. Yeah, don't worry about Foden. Jesus. And even if there's one, we're doing the thing at the end of the season. One player, I don't think I've owned him at all this year. I don't know how I've avoided him. It's just so weird. You get to the end of the season, you're like, how did I not have this guy? At any point, he just keeps killing me, and I'm like, why do I not buy him? Anyway,
like me with Solanke, but I've brought him in now. He's probably going to just go downhill.
Because you've jinxed Solanke, like Trippier, I bring in and break. Scott brings Watkins in and breaks him. You've brought Solanke in and broken him, and I've just avoided Foden's points all year, which is brilliant. I feel like that's been harder than actually getting them. But there you go. Baz, you have Mr. Gusto. You have
just Gusto.
You got Palmer?
No, I ain't got Palmer.
Why? Why? How do you not have Palmer? I look at your team and I think I look because it's so heavy. It's so like attacking heavy. So for anyone who doesn't know, Baz wildcarded in Bowen, Havertz, Foden, Saka, Salah, Darwin, Solanke, and Haaland. So So he has to bench one of those each week, which is, I think that would stress me out. I've got Garnacho because he can just go on the bench if needs be. But like, tell me, why not Palmer with these fixtures, the doubles and everything else?
His doubles are later on, so I've penciled him in later on to get him in. And that's my reason by it. I've just gone right. I'm going kind of like all out attack for these last ones. Yes, I'd like him in because he's the only kind of Chelsea player that's performing. Well, performing. I was going to say overperforming, but just performing.
Just turning up, mate.
Yeah. So with that, I'm gutted I ain't got him in, but obviously with all the other players that you just listed there, and I'm like, well, how can I not have him? Yeah. It's like them other players are going to probably score. And as we talked about, there's loads of choice for midfielders this year. So that's why obviously I've gone against Palmer, and he's probably going to kill me like he did last week. So it is what it is.
At least you've got Foden.
Yeah, I've got Foden, and at least I've got Gusto.
Oh yeah, we'll see if he's fit. We'll see what happens against United tonight. I've just clicked on Chelsea again. Absolutely obsessed with them, apparently. Man City. So, top scoring player for Manchester City this season, even before last night, Phil Foden. Then ahead of Erling Haaland. So we have to remember this. Foden was the top scorer and still is the top scorer for City. Then behind that, Julian Alvarez, who's now getting rotated a lot. And once again, Rodri's having a solid season. 124 points. He'll always tick over and get this amount. Bernardo behind him. Then they've got the injuries to Edison, Walker, and Akanji, Diaz, and the rest behind. At the moment, I'm sitting here with just Haaland in my team. Obviously, I wish I had Foden. Is it just Foden and Haaland? Can we gamble on any other players, Scott?
I don't think you can. It felt like last night was the first time we're in a real pet roulette this season. I feel like he's just done maybe the one player here and there. But, to bench, that bench was ridiculous, wasn't it? Haaland, De Bruyne, couple was on there. Was it Stones as well? Brilliant. I brought him in the draft. That was great. So, yeah, it's a bit of a nightmare for me yesterday, fantasy football-wise. But, yeah, I don't know if I put it in our chat when I was free wildcarding, but I was certainly thinking, I was like, I really want to keep Phil Foden. I really wanted to keep Phil Foden. I love that Villa fixture. I saw a big reaction from him that game after what happened at the weekend. And I was like, Foden couldn't deliver, so I'm gutted I didn't keep him. But no, I mean, I am going to say one thing. Haaland's looking debatable at the minute.
Yes.
He's looking really, really debatable. Do you know the reason I think he's in? The reason he's in a lot of people's teams still, because Harry Kane now plays for Bayern Munich. If Harry Kane was still here, people would be chopping those, similar prices. You'd be getting Kane in. We'll be sat again. Well, let's bring Kane in for these Spurs fixtures. But because most people can kind of afford it with the way it is, and De Bruyne's in and out, I feel like that's why he's staying in teams. But he's not looked on it for a long, long time.
It's fully budget. You're totally right. It's fully budget why people have got him. Obviously, it's fear, but the 71% owned. But it's budget because Son, you can take a leave. He's inconsistent. De Bruyne always injured. There's no other hard, expensive striker that's worth getting, and then there's no point investing in defence. So everyone's got. I've said this from the start of the season. I'm not worried about my budget at any point this season. I'm not worried about price changes. I'm not worried about it at all because it's been irrelevant near enough this season. Your budget. Obviously, it's never fully irrelevant, but it's irrelevant. And that's why people have got him. I've got him because I can just afford. I've got Haaland in my team at 14.3 million. And I've still got like 2 million in the bank.
Yeah.
You're totally right, Scott. I mean, for podcast listeners, he's only scored once in game week 27 and once in game week 25. And those are his goals most recently. He didn't play against Villa.
That Man United one as well. If Amrabat didn't give him the ball with last kick of the game, he wouldn't have done anything that game either. So,
he did miss the biggest sitter
even
ever.
Me, yeah.
But he has only scored once in the last 3 games that he played. So yeah, I look at. He's not exactly. But here he is, Baz. Your opinion on Haaland? Can we go without him?
course you can. He's a League Two player, according to Roy Keane. So yeah, why not?
Best in the world in front of the goal.
Yeah,
That's
but
what he says.
his link up play and stuff like that. No, but
Might as well have Akin Fenwer, mate, instead.
Yeah, yeah, you might as well. But for me, I've only got him because of the fear factor, as you mentioned. It's one of them where if you ain't got him and you need to get him back, it's hard. You've got to do about 3 or 4 potential transfers to get him back in because he's so expensive. So
I don't think you do, unless you just gone off got all this money. I'm going to spend it for spending its sake. I feel like if you get him out and go, do you know what? I really fancy Jackson this week. Just leave the money in the bank.
yeah, you could do, yeah. Yeah, it's not because there is obviously cheap midfielders as well. That if you bank a transfer, then you can obviously get, like, for example, downgrade Bowen to Parma, for example, and then you've got some money there as well. So yeah, there is potential options on that front. But for me, I'm going to probably keep him till the end of the season because Man City will go on that run and he'll go on a run, and it's just the way City are.
Well, they've got 2 FA Cup fixtures left and 5 Champions League fixtures left if they make the finals. And they've got 8 league games left. They've got 15 matches for the rest of the season. So that's the reason I didn't put Foden in my wild card. I literally didn't put Foden in my wild card. So I think their running looks pretty good. And I think that he's going to feature in all the Champions League and FA Cup games. I just felt like I'd get pepped. And that's the reason I didn't put him in. That's the only reason I didn't select him. And it's just absolutely kicked me in the groin today. I mean, look at that form, by the way, for City. They've got the draws against Liverpool and Arsenal, and they've won every other game except for that random Chelsea draw at home since game week 19. I mean, just they're
doing the usual thing, aren't they?
They are doing their usual thing. They're doing their usual thing.
They looked very good last night. I was half watching it, but they looked good from what I was watching.
Quick fire, Scott, before we have a look at the fixtures on these next ones. Players who have got good fixtures and a decent single game week as well in game week 34 are top 2 players or 3 players from West Ham. Your boys?
Bowen without a shadow of a doubt. Like Pal says, he's looking really good. Mm-hmm. I would look at Kudos. I think he's really impressed me recently, actually.
Yeah. He's starting to not be as annoying.
Yes.
Like as a player, like Doku's annoying at the moment. Like
he's got that. Yeah, he's not doing Traore vibes or whatever he was doing. Yeah. Probably just them 2. To be honest with you, I wouldn't be looking. Maybe a Paquetá, what we say, but yeah, maybe just those.
Yeah, those 2 above that. Yeah, Fabianski at 4.2 in goal. Again, probably someone that's not too bad with Emerson at 4.4. If you want one of those 2, I wouldn't mind. Obviously, Zuma steps up. He's the captain at the moment. He gets the goal. He's someone at 4.5 who's not a bad option in terms of the price. If you wanted one of those defenders, I wouldn't have more than one of them. If you have one of those defensive options. And then, yeah, I mean, the thing is there's enough options up top and in midfield. It's Bowen, Kudus. I wouldn't look at Antonio just simply because I think there's enough striking options. In addition to him, Luton Town, they've got some decent fixtures coming up. When you have a look, they've got terrible form, but they have got Bournemouth at home, then Man City, but then they have got Brentford, Wolves as well. So they've got some other fixtures around there. Would you look at any of these boys at the moment?
No, I really won't. They seem to have gone off it a little bit. Really bad run of form. I would leave Luton for now. No.
I do need to give a shout out to a couple of Burnley players because fair play to them in terms of the form recently. They've not lost in the last 4, 3 draws and a win. So I've got to. They're not in bad form at all. Actually, really, it's definitely the best run they've had all season. I mean, I say definitely. They did win 3 games in a row.
Jesus, when did that happen?
I don't remember. I've just scrolled down and I was like, this is definitely their best form of the season. I mean, it is because they've not lost in 4, but it isn't there. As if they won 3 games. When game week 19, 20, and 21, they beat Palace, Luton, and Fulham.
Yeah, it was around Christmas time, I think, right?
Must be. When? Wow.
A bit later than that.
No, odd, isn't it? So I would look at Fofana at 5 mil. He did did score 2 goals. He obviously didn't play against Chelsea. Got 90 minutes against Wolves and didn't turn up, but Still, I think he's an option up top for a cheap striker if you're looking for a third striker. And then Brun Larson as a fifth midfielder. He's got 2 goals in his last 3, and he played, gets starts. Looks like he's doing quite well. I mean, he's a fifth midfield option. You're probably never putting him in your team ever because there's enough other fifth midfielders. But yeah, I just wanted to make sure I'd given him a bit of a shout out. Anybody else from these? I think Murrock's looked quite good in goal, actually. Anybody else from you, Scott, on this lot? Nah, me neither. I do want to give a really quick shout just to Villa, because I know their next fixtures are Brentford. They have Arsenal, but they do have Bournemouth straight after, which is a decent fixture, a single game week, 34 fixture. What did you make of Duran, Scott? Did you watch the game with him? You only half watched it, didn't you, sir?
Yeah, half watched it. He seemed all right. He knows an attacking option. Did he come on? Did he come on the other day at half time when Watkins went off?
Yeah, he played two half times.
So I watched that full game. So I thought his hold up play was actually really good against Wolves. I thought it did decent.
Mm-hmm.
I will say that Aston Villa goal was one of the goals of the season for me.
It was a lovely goal.
Everything had to be inch perfect. Everything, the runs, the balls, the finish had to be inch perfect, and everything was. I was so impressed by that. And he took his goal really, really well. But yeah, looks like a good cheaper option. And do we know is Watkins just yellow flag, red flag?
I think he was just yellowed. He was. Hold on, Scott. Of course, I've done this by round score rather than total score. Let me orange 50%. So
yeah. So
just don't know, dear.
No.
I think for when you're looking at maybe a 1 week punting draft, someone like him might work. Duran, I think he's somebody in draft who, if you've got an injured player up top, I think we look at him in our draft. I think he's somebody that might end up being quite a good option from that perspective. Captains. So Barry's had to drop off the course. We won't do a differential draft this week. We'll have to do that separately to this. Fatherly duties for our Barry, and it was my fault for starting 10 minutes late. So apologies, Barry. This is the end. So we've got 2 fixtures tonight: Liverpool, Sheffield United, and Chelsea, Manchester United. Game week 32 starts at 12:30. Deadline's 11 o'clock on Saturday, the 6th of April. Palace City is the early kickoff. Then it's Villa, Brentford, Everton, Burnley, Fulham, Newcastle, Luton, Bournemouth, Wolves, West Ham, Brighton, Arsenal, Man United, Liverpool, Sheffield United, Chelsea, and Spurs and Forest. Not the easiest one in terms of captain. You look at Palmer against Sheffield United. For me, it's got to be somebody's up there, the worst team in the league against one of the more informed players. You could look at Sonny or someone like that against Nottingham Forest, Spurs being at home, but you never know what Forest you're going to get. I still wouldn't back against an Arsenal player against Brighton. Brighton have got a very leaky defence. There's a lot of half captain shouts. Scott, where's your armband?
It's the first time this season someone's not really jumped out at me. If that Palace City game's not 12:30 kickoff, probably looking at a City player.
Yeah,
I'm already excited for Foden to be benched. I hope he is, because I won't be bringing him in, and loads of people will be. So I really hope he gets benched.
Me too.
Haaland, but I don't really want to captain Haaland. He's not on form. I usually I'm a bit weird. I usually like to go for a home captain. Honestly, it's probably Palmer. But again, I've got a weird feeling about that game. I don't think Chelsea are any good, especially away from home. But Palmer. But I'll be honest, the way they're playing at the minute, Arsenal is one that might actually catch my eye a bit more, because Brighton are just so leaky this season.
Yeah, they are conceding a lot. So again, 2 draws in a row. For Sheffield United, 3-3 and 2-2.
Yeah.
Then before that, they'd lost 6-0, 1-0, and 5-0. So
yeah.
I mean, they've conceded 3-2, 6-1, 5-1, 5-3. I like the attacker against the awful defence.
Yeah, I can see see how tonight goes. I can see it's a weird one. I feel like if they get hammered by Liverpool 7-0 tonight, I'd be less I'd be more reluctant to go for that because I feel like they go really, really tight defence next game. I don't know.
Yeah, no,
A weird one. Yeah, it's gonna be an important week because I think there's gonna be a lot of captaincy spread.
Brighton's weird. Yeah, they didn't they kept a clean sheet yesterday. So weird. And then look, the two conceded 2 to Liverpool, but then they kept a clean sheet against Forest. You know, 2 clean sheets in the last 3. I don't know. It's just I don't know. Yeah, me it's Palmer at the moment, so that's where mine's sat. But yes, Saturday deadline 11:00, and that's your last the midweek deadline that's just gone by. That's your last midweek deadline for the rest of the season. They're all Saturdays from here on in. They're literally all 1 week apart exactly for the deadlines, except for Sunday. Obviously, the last day of the season is a Sunday, but yeah, they're Saturdays for the rest of the week. The only midweek fixtures now are going to be when there's double game weeks. So double game week 34, but the deadline will be on Saturday anyway. You might have a random Friday thrown in here when they look at the fixtures in case there's another Friday night football. But just so we all know for planning for the rest of the season, that is how it looks. Right, let's wrap up. Scott, thanks for joining me.
You're welcome.
Happy birthday once again. Thank you to every single person for joining us as well and tuning in. Don't forget to like our video and just like us really generally. There's too much hate in the world. Just like us, like our video, subscribe to our channel, and then also give us a 5-star review where you get your podcasts from, and subscribe to us on those platforms as well, with Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Podcasts, wherever it might be. And then don't forget to follow us on our social media platforms, All in Football Pod, All in Football P, and Instagram, Twitter, and maybe TikTok if we're down with the kids. Scott, bye for now.
Cheerio.
Bye for now.